If you or someone you know relies on food stamps, new rules could take effect, meaning you would lose them. Enrollment in the nation's largest food assistance program is falling much faster than expected as new eligibility rules now take effect. Western Mass News reporter Reagan Lockery joins us live in studio with the details. Reagan.
That's right, Chris. The changes were included in President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill. Supporters say the new requirements are meant to encourage more people to enter the workforce, but advocates warn some eligible families are losing benefits. They say paperwork and administrative delays are to blame. New federal data shows SNAP enrollment fell from 42.2 million people last May to 36.6 million this May. That's a drop of more than 13% in just 1 year. The Congressional Budget Office didn't expect that decline for several more years. SNAP helps more than 1 in 10 Americans pay for groceries. The average household receives about $344 a month. Elizabeth Ogilvie serves on Governor Healey's anti-hunger task force. She says one reason people are losing benefits has nothing to do with eligibility.
DTA is so understaffed and everybody requires different documentation, but only 1 in 5 calls are getting through.
Ogilvie says some of the hardest hit recipients are grandparents who have been raising grandchildren and now must re-enter the workforce to keep their benefits.
Now, there are people who are going to lose their eligibility because of new restrictions that Donald Trump put into place. And that would be that if you're over 65 and you're raising a child, but they are over 14 or over, you still have to go to work. Those people haven't been working because they've been raising, in many cases, their grandchildren for all these years.
Under the new law, more recipients must work, volunteer, or attend school to keep their benefits. The requirements now include many adults between 55 and 64. They also include some parents with children between 14 and 17. People 65 and older are exempt, so are parents with children under 14 and those with certain health limitations. Advocates say some people aren't losing benefits because they failed to work. They're losing benefits because they missed a deadline or couldn't provide the required documentation. Advocates also warn the loss of SNAP can affect other programs, including free school meals and nutritional assistance for women and children. We did reach out to the governor's office and DTA for comment, but have not yet heard back. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Lockery, Western Mass.